Hello, today I'm going to do a director's perspective for Dear Evan Hansen. He'll be the first I'm doing for a musical, but we are just focusing on the scene for this. Maybe I'll do something specific to a musical number at some point. This is a scene in Act 1 of Dear Evan Hansen between Zoe and Evan. To put you in space and time, it is right before If I Could Tell Her. So they're talking about Connor, about Evan's feelings. So let's just jump into the video and see what we find in this little moment.
Well, you should go. No, let's figure this out. That's fine. I'll make dinner for myself. Dinner will be ready in 10 minutes, Evan. I hope you're hungry.
I love how simplistic this set is and how much it aids the actors in doing what they need to do for a scene. Right there, we have this great split imaging with just focused spotlights to show you two different spaces in time. It shows you how their characters are developing and Evan's dilemma and conflict between the two of them, kind of finding a mother figure in Connor's mom and kind of drifting from his own. They have a raised platform for this bedroom, and my thoughts on that, I think it's similar to like a spotlight, but a little more defined and actually workable for the actors so that we don't have a flat two-dimensional scene at any point. Even if they're pretty much in line with each other on stage, there is a platform so we can play a little bit of levels here, and we will see that in a moment, just to keep texturing, keep the image aesthetically pleasing to the audience, something interesting to look at.
No, I just was waiting. So your parents get upset that you're here all the time? It's not like I'm not here all the time. Just 2 nights in a row. Well, it's just my mom.
You can see right there, we have Zoe at a higher level. Evan's often, especially towards the beginning of the show, the submissive character because of his social anxieties and everything. You can see that play out right here, especially with someone like Zoe who he has a crush on, so that adds another layer of dominance for her in the scene, so she is on the higher level interrogating him. And I want you to pay attention to Evan's patterns both physically and vocally throughout this scene, just seeing how he keeps a steadiness in the chaos and anxiety for Evan. As much as he might stammer over lines, he will never real life stammer, it'll be a stage stammer. So he'll say them pretty quickly, but it's more like if he was doing a patter song, he just has to make sure his consonants and his vowels, everything's very crisp and can be heard even if he's talking a little faster and he's kind of stumbling over his words.
Works most nights or else she's in class.
Class for what?
Legal stuff.
Where's your dad?
My dad, he lives in Colorado. He left when I was 7, so he doesn't really mind either. Your parents, they're really great.
They can't stand each other. They fight all the time.
Everyone's parents fight.
My dad's in like total denial. He didn't even cry at the funeral.
And there's a nice subtlety to both of the characters here. Obviously, these two actors, we know from whatever means that they are somewhere in their 20s and they're not teenagers, but they're playing the moment as opposed to playing a teenager, which can get you into trouble. I've done scenes before where my character has aged from a child to a teenager to an adult over the course of the scene and been told to play the story way more, that play the life experience as opposed to playing the age, because we're not trying to make a cartoon teenager here. It's supposed to be very honest. It brings in a great subtle teen angst and uncertainty into the scene, and you can see that in their physicality as well, the way they play with things. Having your arms crossed is definitely a way to cut off from another person. So we have things like that to play into their character.
Your mom was saying gluten-free lasagna for dinner. That sounds really
Inedible?
You're lucky that your mom cooks. My mom and I, we just ordered pizza last night.
Well, you're lucky you're allowed to eat pizza.
You're not allowed to eat pizza.
It's always interesting when people float around stage and make little movements like Zoe just did, where it makes sense to the audience when you're not thinking about it, but always keep in mind there has to be at least a subtle reason why she's walking forward. I think subconsciously we can all assume she came forward to be more on the same level as Evan now that they're getting into a real conversation. So it all works out for us. So there has to be a purpose, even if it's just a very monotonous, mundane movement. Purpose is going to keep the audience in tune with the reality of the story.
They can now, I guess. My mom was Buddhist last year, so we weren't allowed to eat any products.
She was Buddhist last year, but not this year.
Yeah, that's sort of what she does. She gets into different things. For a while it was Pilates, then it was The Secret, then Buddhism. Now it's Free Range Omnivore's Dilemma, whatever.
It's cool that she's interested in so much different stuff.
She's not. That's just what happens when you're rich and you don't have a job. You get crazy.
And they both have a great patterning to their voices. They're not playing into any kinds of jokes, they're just talking, and if the audience happens to find it funny, they find it every day kind of haha funny. I do enjoy that Zoe, in her own teen angst, has her own patterning to the way she moves. It has a little more flow than Evan's movement, and she's a little slower on her words, kind of calculated in what she's saying, and Evan kind of just jumps in when he has a thought that he thinks can contribute to the situation. So they're playing off a good dynamic of her da 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 and his da da da, and then maybe she'll jump right on top of it. And the rhythm there can also play into the comedy of it in a very nice, natural, organic way. And they both have come down to the floor at this point. I would say Evan and Zoe are slightly off from each other. Never have your actors in a straight line unless they're going to start a kick line. It's just very flat and, like I said before, two-dimensional. Right here, they're a little bit off from each other, I can tell. Plus, the bed is kind of acting as an apex to a triangle, bringing in more depth there, as well as that little shelf area in the back. So they can be almost in alignment and still keep the interest in there. Plus, we want them kind of playing on the same plane as the conversation gets more friendly.
My mom always says it's better to be rich than poor.
It's probably never been rich money.
Yeah, you've probably never been poor. Oh my god, I can't believe I just said that. That was
I didn't realize you were actually capable of saying something that wasn't nice.
I don't say things that aren't nice. I don't even think things like that. I'm very sorry.
I was impressed. You're ruining it.
Oh, sorry.
And I do love, I've seen other Evans kind of bring in the same mannerisms that Ben Platt has here. I don't know if that was a choice by the director or if Ben brought it in and then they kept it forever, but the way he moves, I almost feel like that outstretched hand, it didn't really know where it was going. It was reaching out to her, but too afraid to get there. And then he's kind of going for a fabric as if it was like a tactile comfort mechanism for him. So I just love the awkwardness of the movements in his character, but they're natural to him.
You really don't have to keep saying that. You want to say it again, don't you?
Very much so, yes.
You're weird.
I know.
Why did he say that?
And that was a great shift right there. Again, with purpose. I feel Zoe was getting more comfortable with him, so she was kind of closing that gap of distance between them. Distance on stage is very significant in determining the relationship between two people. Evan is obviously very nervous in situations that are intimate with anybody, so he veers off and deflects from it, whereas Zoe's not in the exact same boat with him in that kind of awkwardness, and if she's comfortable with the situation, she moves into it. So then we get this nice, clean traffic pattern on stage where both are still visible, they've moved spaces and created another level while keeping the scene natural and realistic.
In his mouth. Because they're Dear Zoe, all my hope is pinned on Zoe, who I don't even know and who doesn't know me. Why would he write that? He would have said even me.
Well, maybe. I mean, I'm not sure if this is definitely it, but he always.
There was nice intention in the way that line flowed. At first, you could feel as if Zoe was interrogating Evan, and that could be the kind of deflective pattern he was following because that's how he felt. But the second that she displays this real emotion where she just wants comfort. She doesn't really want a solid answer or anything like that. She knows she'll never get it in all reality, but she just wants something comforting. And when we get him to actually look up from his feet, that's when he makes those connections with people. The eye contact is everything there. The second he saw her in pain is when he switched out of the deflective into the comforting, because he's a genuine person, and he doesn't want to upset people.
He always thought that maybe if you guys were closer.
We weren't close at all.
No, exactly. And so he always used to say that he wished that he was. He wanted to be.
So you and Connor, you guys would talk about me?
I mean, sometimes, because, if he brought it up, I mean, I never brought it up. I would say, why not? But he thought that you were awesome.
So I love how he kind of runs over the laughter pause of that line. Like, why would I ever do that? Anyway, because in reality, if you said something like that you felt was going to out you, embarrass you, whatever, you're going to run over it and be like, let's think about this instead. So I like how he didn't wait for any kind of laughter on that. He kept his rhythm flowing all the way through that line. So this is just a really cute scene. I so much just want to go into the song because I love this song. It's so pretty. But this was just a really nice basics in actor stage pictures and character development, subtleties in physicality, vocal patterns, all around a very simple scene, but there was a lot going on in it that I really, really enjoyed. So I hope you guys enjoyed talking about it. Here the video ends and the work begins. Let's support each other.